Hello, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Rachel Kirkland with WashingtonExec, and today I have the pleasure of talking with two individuals in the space sector to discuss how collaboration, partnerships, and women's leadership are key to unlocking mission success. Joining us today is Vanessa Wyche, Director of NASA's Johnson Space Center, who leads international space station programs and missions, development of the Orion spacecraft, and NASA's Gateway Outpost program, among many other projects. I also have Kathy Laurini, who also has over 40 years of working on NASA's human spaceflight programs, building international partnerships, and today serves as president of Osare Space Consulting Group. Thank you both for joining me today. Let's start with Kathy. Kathy, can you tell us about the genesis of the Impact Center and Women's Leadership Program and what inspired its creation?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you today, Rachel. The Impact Center is a nonprofit that was founded in 2005 by John Hart. And John had a lot of experience working in private, public, and nonprofit sectors, and he saw the unique opportunity to bring together leaders to learn from each other and with each other. And the Impact Center has worked with leaders at the highest levels, including through the Presidential Appointee Leadership Program at the White House. They, in 2009, the Impact Center launched what's called a Women's Executive Leadership Program, the WELP, and recognizing that there's a persistent gap in women's representation and inclusion at executive levels, in executive levels across industries, as well as recognizing the complexities of leadership that multiply for women in a traditionally male-dominated space. So the organization is not only focused on women's leadership education, but other programs that serve men, women, and organizations. But for me, having worked in the aerospace industry for over 40 years and having attended senior leadership courses through Harvard and or other organization, I felt like a program focused on aerospace women would allow them to advance leadership skills within a cohort of women with similar challenges. So building a network of women that have faced similar challenges similar challenges than they have. So I socialized the idea with some women who I've worked with and respected, including Vanessa, and we formed a guiding coalition of top women in aerospace to sort of influence the development of this program through the Impact Center. So that's kind of how it came together and why. And we're all super excited about the program and the importance of bringing together women across, industry and government and academia, international, and civil defense, national security, space, and that's the story.
Vanessa, let's pivot to you. Also, with decades of experience, what outcomes have you observed among participants of this program, and how does it empower women leaders in aerospace and beyond in your experience?
So, Rachel, thank you so very much for having us and giving the opportunity to talk about the program. For myself, I'm very excited because other programs that are somewhat similar that were non-aerospace specific that I've been involved in have been very critical elements of helping women to find what their vision is, helping them to develop a vision, helping them to be able to identify even for themselves personally what they want to do and helping them to grow into the leaders that they can be. And so in aerospace, we got together and we talked about, well, this would be a great opportunity if we did a cohort that was aerospace women that could be future executives to help to grow, develop others. We in our community have been working across industry and with our international partners on how do we help to propel the space industry going forward? How do we propel commercialization? How do we propel international partnerships? And one way to do that is for us to know each other and working across all of those areas together. So that was the idea of being able to put together a cohort that would be able to focus on development of women for future executive roles as in doing it together.
Absolutely. Kathy, what else would you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, leadership skills are so important to the success of any organization, and it's really important that we do more, I think, to prepare leaders across the board for the challenges we have in this country, in this world. But in the aerospace field, there are so many challenges in low Earth orbit and beyond. Challenges impact any organization operating in space. Challenges like space debris, space-based military activities, emerging technologies, reducing costs. It's really important, the rising Chinese space program and the partnerships. I mean, I could go on and on about the challenges. And as Vanessa said, government, industry, academia, international people, employees are all stakeholders, right? The Guiding Coalition felt pretty strongly about including women in all areas of aerospace, because we strive to empower them to lead in this complex culture, this complex time, where, as I said, challenges are many. Preparing them to accept smart risks, to lead change, to make the most out of the partnerships, and learning from each other, learning from other strong women who have faced similar challenges, we think is going to be a key aspect of this program. So we hope to help them with strategic visioning and the approaches to address the challenges.
As one of you mentioned earlier, aerospace has traditionally been male dominated. How has the landscape evolved in recent years, and what do you feel still needs to change? Vanessa, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so for me personally, kind of growing up and coming through the ranks at NASA, I can tell you, I can remember our first female senior executives, and the number of people now who are in those roles is very different than when I began. So now looking across the industry and seeing major industry partners that have women in leadership roles, not just at your traditional aerospace companies, but even at the companies that have done new starts here locally in the Houston area. We have at least 2 or 3 companies that are now being led by women, and so now with that. It opens up opportunities for everyone, right, to have these future roles. I get to see students all the time, and so little girls and little boys both being able to know that one day they can be the owner of a aerospace company, or they can be the one that's the COO of the company, running the company and making sure that all of those things are happening. But so major changes have happened, and with that gives us opportunity for now for us to continue to grow and develop the next generation. If I look at where we are with our astronaut corps, if you go back in history, where at one point it was all men, the Apollo program, but now today with Artemis, we now have women, we have men, we have people all around the world that are a part of that program and will be the future leaders going forward.
Kathy, any additional thoughts?
No, I would just echo everything she said. As more and more women, and I've seen this too. Vanessa and I started probably around the same time, but more women are building the technical credibility by doing more and more in aerospace, and so they're given leadership opportunities, and it's important to prepare them to lead with confidence. It's not just enough to have strong technical skills, but to understand your strengths and your leadership mindset, and build your skill set up to focus on your strengths and help you be successful. So I think, as Vanessa said, the more we prepare women to lead confidently and effectively, the more opportunities are created to follow. And they set good examples for everyone in the organization. My leadership style was influenced by the men that I worked for. My first boss at NASA, my boss's boss's boss was Gene Kranz. and I watching him, I learned a lot of very positive things, and I had men leaders that I worked for that I took away very, very important lessons, and some of those lessons were things I wanted to do. Some of those lessons were things I didn't want to do. So helping women to be able to understand their skill set and lead effectively from where they are is, I think, super important, and will continue to lift up more men and women.
Kathy, what advice would you give to the next generation of women aspiring to leadership roles in STEM?
Oh, I mean, I just think it's just not enough to be technically sound. It's super important. I've mentored young men and women throughout my career, and I always say, look, don't be too much in a hurry to jump into leadership roles. Establish your technical credibility first, and then think about moving into leadership. But to be prepared for leadership, you need to understand that there's a lot more than just the technical job. You work in an environment where a programmatic environment where budgets and schedules are important. So take the time to understand these aspects. I remember I had one job where I came into a leadership position, and I asked to see the statement of work for the big contractor that was supporting our organization, and the people in the business area thought, what, a leader that wants to read the statement of work? I felt it was really important to really understand what were we asking our contractor to do. So prepare yourself, understand the political environment, understand all the stakeholders, understand all those things, and then I think you'll be prepared to take the step into leadership, because until you do it, you don't really know what you don't know. But you can't learn everything in advance. But being aware of all those aspects, I think, will make you a stronger leader.
Vanessa, anything you would add?
I think those are really, really good words of wisdom. When I first started working and being a young engineer, like Kathy said, hone your technical skills. Make sure you have all of the understanding so that when you are in a room, you're able to respond with confidence, because that does help you to be actually your credibility for one, but it also helps you to be prepared to speak about whatever the subject is that you're speaking on. I will also say, for me, and I would recommend this for anyone that's trying to progress in their careers, is to find a mentor. As Kathy said, just know no one person knows everything. And so no matter how good you are, how technically competent you are, there's room for you to learn from someone else. So we have people that have incredible knowledge and want to share what they know. So reach out to them, and then, not just, again, think about just your technical skills, but also your leadership skills and the skills that it takes to be able to lead a large organization, being a manager. So I would say those are things that I would recommend. And first and foremost, though, if you're passionate about what you do, it never is a job. So first, make sure that you're passionate about it, and then go in there and just, give it your all.
I love that. I want to pivot to talking about public-private partnerships, pivotal to advancing innovation in aerospace. What challenges arise when working across sectors? How do you overcome them to achieve shared goals? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll start. We've had great success, I feel, at NASA with public-private partnerships. And so with that, the work that we do today with, let's say, SpaceX, where they're a private company, they're supporting the public sector, and the things that we're doing with what we're calling commercial crew program. So that's where we're flying our astronauts on commercially provided vehicles and working together in a partnership. When you do that, the government actually saves dollars, because the commercial company can actually sell whatever is not needed by the government. And so doing that drives down the cost of what it takes for us to be able to do our programs. So we've had great success with that. I would say the challenges are, first, we have to learn how to work together and work in a different model. And so we've had time to develop the model over the number of years that we've been doing these partnerships and understand how to make those things happen. But even what you might consider to be a challenge could be an opportunity because it does allow us to figure out different ways of being able to do things to be successful.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go a little bit lower, but instead of the big picture. But I've worked both for NASA and in the private sector, and even when NASA and a private company are working together in partnership to build a new capability, the motivations and the stakeholders are different for government and industry people. So I think if you're in that situation, it's good to understand the needs and the wants of each other. Understanding these is really important. I learned this lesson early on in my working with international partners on the space station program. Understand everybody's needs and everybody's wants, and unless physics prevents it, all problems have a solution. So it's better to understand what your partner needs and wants, and then you can better find solutions. So a key is to understand the problem as soon as you can, and be able to openly discuss a solution. I think be openly to just be better. Be more open in discussing solutions. Let's say, nobody wants, the government doesn't want a company to go bankrupt, and the bankrupt doesn't want and a company doesn't want the government to overspend and maybe cancel a program. So, understanding that you both have common goals is important, and then you can always find a solution that meets everybody's needs.
Vanessa, could you share a recent example of a successful collaboration and its impact on NASA's mission?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, so many. I can talk about things that we're doing, collaborating in space with our international partners. I mean, the International Space Station is just like one big example. And now we have so many new international partners that we're working with. We have our traditional partners that are a part of the International Space Station from its inception. But then we've also been collaborating with the United Arab Emirates. We just recently finished training our astronaut candidates, and we graduated with our last astronaut candidates of the U.S. government, also 2 astronauts from the United Arab Emirates. And another big collaboration that we're doing locally here is with regards to us being able to have capabilities in our local area to support NASA's missions, but doing it with collaboration with the state of Texas. And so the state of Texas has invested in what they're calling a Space Institute. And Texas A&M University is building a facility near Johnson. We're going to actually have land that we're leasing out to them under the umbrella of what we're calling Exploration Park. And as a part of that, the university is working with, they intend to work with the international community. They're going to work with commercial industry on ways for us to be able to do robotic and human integration here locally on the ground. So they're gonna have a large facility that's going to have a moonscape and a Marsscape, and so we'll be able to do testing of many of the elements that we'll be using for both Artemis on the moon as well as on Mars, right here in that facility. And then there's other companies that will be moving into this area called Exploration Park and allowing us to have those activities locally. And our astronauts will be able to train, we'll have our engineers be able to do testing, and it'll be expanding the capabilities that we have in order to support our mission.
Fantastic. Kathy?
I won't add anything. I think that's a great answer, and in the interest of time.
Wonderful. All right. Well, let's end on a question for each of you. Vanessa, what is your vision for the future of Johnson Space Center as it relates to the partnerships and leadership initiatives we've just discussed?
Yeah, so my vision for the Johnson Space Center centers around a strategy that we've been working on. It's called Dare, Unite, Explore. Simply put, dare to do bold things so that we can unite with our partners to explore. And so for us, it's opening up the center, finding new ways, creative ways for us to be able to not only do NASA's mission, which we have some big, bold missions right now today with the International Space Station and with our Moon to Mars program, but we know that the International Space Station, as great as it's been, and we have had humans living off this planet for 24 years. But we know that at some point it's going to come to an end. And so there are companies that are building commercial space stations. And so we're working to help support them in their endeavors. There's companies that are right now today, NASA, Johnson Space Center. We are unique in providing what we call extravehicular activity capability, EVA, or spacewalks. But there are commercial companies that are interested in doing that. And so how do we help them to be successful? And so we've been working with companies like SpaceX just recently under their umbrella. They just did a mission called Polaris Dawn, where the crew was able to do a commercial spacewalk. Well, guess what? We tested their suit in our chambers. We also did some acceptance testing with that crew. But that's what our vision is for Johnson Space Center to continue to be a leader, a global leader in human space exploration. And by that, making sure that we not only have the facilities, but that we have the workforce where we're taking all of this knowledge that we have from over 60 years of human spaceflight experience and making that available to everyone. Because I see that the future of space is going to be many people, many nations, all working collaboratively in space. And so we want to be a part of making sure that that happens.
Very good. Kathy, with your expertise, how do you see leadership and collaboration evolving in aerospace over the next decade?
Well, as I mentioned before, there are so many problems in the world, and preparing leaders to address them is an investment in the future. The U.S. has a bold space policy, which has been well thought out over the last decade and across multiple administrations. And I hope, I think we have every reason to expect that it will carry over into this new administration. But as I mentioned before, the technical and the geopolitical challenges are great. So we really appreciate your giving us this chance to talk about the Aerospace Women's Executive Leadership Program, because we need leaders who can navigate in this world and find solutions. And the biggest challenges probably won't be technical ones. And preparing the best women to lead and build strong networks is really how we're going to succeed.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much.